The Pilgrim's Progress 3. So interpreter said, these two lads are figures, passion of the men of this world, and patience of the men of that which is to come. For, as here thou seest, passion will have all now this year, that is to say, in this world. So are the men of this world. They must have all their good things now. They cannot stay till the next year, that is, until the next world, for their portion of good. That proverb, a bird in the hand is worth two in the bush, is of more authority with them than are all the divine testimonies of the good of the world to come. But as thou sawest that he had quickly lavished all away, and had presently left him nothing but rags, so will it be with all such men at the end of this world. Then Christian said, now I see that patience has the best wisdom, and that upon many accounts. 1, because he stays for the best things, and 2, because he will have all the glory of his when the other has nothing but rags. Interpreter said, nay, you may add another to wit. The glory of the next world will never wear out, but these are suddenly gone. Therefore passion had not so much reason to laugh at patience because he had his good things first, as patience will have to laugh at passion because he had his best things last. For first must give place to last, because last must have his time to come. But last gives place to nothing, for there is not another to succeed. Hear ye then, he that hath his portion first must needs have a time to spend it, but he that hath his portion last must have it lastingly. Therefore it is written, in thy lifetime thou receivest thy good things, and likewise Lazarus evil things. But now he is comforted, and thou art tormented. Christian replied, then I perceive it is not best to covet things that are now, but to wait in hope for things to come. You say truth, said interpreter, for the things that are seen are temporal, but the things that are not seen are eternal. But though this be so, yet since things present and our fleshly appetite are such near neighbours one to another, and again, because things to come and carnal sense are such strangers one to another, therefore it is that the first of these so suddenly falls into amity, and that distance is so continually between the second. Then I saw in my dream that the interpreter took Christian by the hand and led him into a place where was a fire burning against a wall, and one standing by it, always casting much water upon it to quench it. Yet did the fire burn higher and hotter. Then Christian said, what means this? The interpreter answered, the fire is the work of grace that is wrought in the heart. He that casts water upon it to extinguish and put it out is the devil. But in that thou seest the fire, notwithstanding, burn higher and hotter, thou shalt also see the reason of that. So he had him about to the backside of the wall, where he saw a man with a vessel of oil in his hand, of the which he did also continually cast, but secretly, into the fire. Then Christian said, what means this? The interpreter answered, this is Christ, who continually, with the oil of his grace, maintains the work already begun in the heart, by the means of which, notwithstanding what the devil can do, the souls of his people prove gracious still. And in that thou sawest that the man stood behind the wall to maintain the fire, this is to teach thee that it is hard for the tempted to see how this work of grace is maintained in the soul. I also saw that the interpreter took him again by the hand and led him into a pleasant place, where was builded a stately palace, beautiful to behold, at the sight of which Christian was greatly delighted. He saw also upon the top thereof certain persons walking, who were clothed all in gold. Then Christian said, "May we go in thither?" Then the interpreter took him, and led him up towards the door of the palace. And behold, at the door stood a great company of men, as desirous to go in, but durst not. There also sat a man at a little distance from the door, at a table side, with a book and his ink before him, to take the name of him that should enter therein. He saw also that in the doorway stood many men in armour, to keep it, being resolved to do to the men that would enter what hurt and mischief they could. Now was Christian somewhat in a maze. At last, when every man started back for fear of the armed men, Christian saw a man of a very stout countenance come up to the men that sat there to ride, saying, "Set down my name, sir." The which, when he had done, he saw the man draw his sword, and put a helmet on his head, and rush towards the door upon the armed men, who laid upon him with deadly force. But the man, not at all discouraged, fell to cutting and hacking most fiercely. So after he had received and given many wounds to those that attempted to keep him out, he cut his way through them all, and pressed forward into the palace, at which there was a pleasant voice heard from those that were within, even of those that walked upon the top of the palace, saying, "Come in, eternal glory thou shalt win." So he went in, and was clothed with such garments as they. Then Christian smiled and said, "I think verily that I know the meaning of this." "Now," said Christian, "let me go hence." "Nay, stay," said the interpreter, "till I have showed thee a little more, and after that thou shalt go on thy way." So he took him by the hand again, and led him into a very dark room, where there sat a man in an iron cage. Now the man, to look on, seemed very sad. He sat with his eyes looking down to the ground, his hands folded together, and he sighed as if he would break his heart. Then said Christian, "What means this?" At which the interpreter bid him talk with the man. So said Christian to the man, "What art thou?" And the man answered, "I am what I was not once." Christian said, "What was thou once?" The man said, "I was once a fair and flourishing professor, both in mine own eyes and also in the eyes of others. I once was, as I thought, fair for the celestial city, and had then even joy at the thoughts that I should get thither." Christian, "Well, but what art thou now?" The man said, "I am now a man of despair, and am shut up in it, as in this iron cage. I cannot get out. Oh, now I cannot." "But how camest thou into this condition?" said Christian. The man said, "I left off to watch and be sober. I laid the reins upon the neck of my lusts. I sinned against the light of the word and the goodness of God. I have grieved the Spirit, and he is gone. I tempted the devil, and he is come to me. I have provoked God to anger, and he has left me. I have so hardened my heart that I cannot repent." Then Christian said to the interpreter, "But is there no hope for such a man as this?" "Ask him," said the interpreter. Then said Christian, "Is there no hope, but you must be kept in the iron cage of despair?" The man replied, "No, none at all." "But why?" said Christian. "The Son of the Blessed is very pitiful." The man said, "I have crucified him to myself afresh. I have despised his person, I have despised his righteousness. I have counted his blood an unholy thing. I have done despite to the Spirit of grace. Therefore I have shut myself out of all the promises, and there now remains to me nothing but threatenings, dreadful threatenings, fearful threatenings of certain judgment, and fiery indignation, which shall devour me as an adversary. Christian said, For what did you bring yourself into this condition? For the lusts, pleasures, and profits of this world, in the enjoyment of which I did then promise myself much delight. But now every one of those things also bite me and gnaw me like a burning worm. But canst thou now not repent and turn? Said Christian. The man said, God hath denied me repentance. His word gives me no encouragement to believe. Yea, himself hath shut me up in this iron cage, nor can all the men in the world let me out. O eternity, eternity, how shall I grapple with the misery that I must meet with in eternity? Then said the interpreter to Christian, Let this man's misery be remembered by thee, and be an everlasting caution to thee. Christian said, Well, this is fearful. God help me to watch and to be sober, and to pray that I may shun the cause of this man's misery. Sir, is it not time for me to go on my way now? Tarry, said interpreter, till I show thee one thing more, and then thou shalt go on thy way. So he took Christian by the hand again, and led him into a chamber where there was one rising out of bed. And as he put on his raiment, he shook and trembled. Then said Christian, Why doth this man thus tremble? The interpreter then bid him to tell to Christian the reason of his so doing. So he began and said, This night as I was asleep, I dreamed, and behold, the heavens grew exceeding black. Also it thundered and lightened in most fearful wise, that it put me into an agony. So I looked up in my dream, and saw the clouds rack at an unusual rate, upon which I heard a great sound of a trumpet, and saw also a man sitting upon a cloud, attended with the thousands of heaven. They were all in flaming fire. Also the heavens were on a burning flame. I heard then a voice saying, Arise, ye dead, and come to judgment. And with that the rocks rent, the graves opened, and the dead that were therein came forth. Some of them were exceeding glad, and looked upward, and some sought to hide themselves under the mountains. Then I saw the man that sat upon the cloud open the book, and bid the world draw near. Yet there was, by reason of a fierce flame that issued out and came from before him, a convenient distance betwixt him and them, as betwixt the judge and the prisoners at the bar. I heard it also proclaimed to them that attended on the man that sat on the cloud, Gather together the tares, the chaff, and the stubble, and cast them into the burning lake. And with that the bottomless pit opened, just whereabout I stood, out of the mouth of which there came, in an abundant manner, smoke and coals of fire with hideous noises. It was also said to the same persons, Gather my wheat into the garner. And with that I saw many catched up and carried away in the clouds, but I was left behind. I also sought to hide myself, but I could not, for the man that sat upon the cloud still kept his eye upon me. My sins also came into my mind, and my conscience did accuse me on every side. Upon this I awakened from my sleep. Christian said, But what was it that made you so afraid of this sight? Why, said the man, I thought that the day of judgment was come, and that I was not ready for it. But this frighted me most, that the angels gathered up several and left me behind. Also the pit of hell opened her mouth just where I stood. My conscience too afflicted me, and, as I thought, the judge had always his eye upon me, showing indignation in his countenance. Then said the interpreter to Christian, "Hast thou considered all these things?" "Yes," said Christian, "and they put me in hope and fear." "Well," said interpreter, "keep all things so in thy mind, that they may be as a goad in thy sides, to prick thee forward in the way thou must go." Then Christian began to gird up his loins and to address himself to his journey. Then said the interpreter, "The Comforter be always with thee, good Christian, to guide thee in the way that leads to the city." So Christian went on his way, saying, "Here I have seen things rare and profitable, things pleasant, dreadful, things to make me stable, in what I have begun to take in hand. Then let me think on them and understand, wherefore they showed me were, and let me be thankful, O good interpreter, to thee." Now I saw in my dream that the highway upon which Christian was to go was fenced on either side with a wall, and that wall was called salvation. Up this way, therefore, did burdened Christian run, but not without great difficulty, because of the load on his back. He ran thus till he came at a place somewhat ascending, and upon that place stood a cross, and a little below, in the bottom, a sepulchre. So I saw in my dream that just as Christian came up with the cross, his burden loosed from off his shoulders and fell from off his back, and began to tumble, and so continued to do till it came to the mouth of the sepulchre, where it fell in, and I saw it no more. Then was Christian glad and lightsome, and said with a merry heart, "He hath given me rest by his sorrow, and life by his death." Then he stood still a while to look and wonder, for it was very surprising to him that the sight of the cross should thus ease him of his burden. He looked therefore, and looked again, even till the springs that were in his head sent the waters down his cheeks. Now as he stood looking and weeping, behold, 3 shining ones came to him, and saluted him with, "Peace be to thee." So the first said to him, "Thy sins be forgiven thee." The second stripped him of his rags, and clothed him with a change of raiment. The third also set a mark in his forehead, and gave him a scroll with a seal upon it, which he bid him look on as he ran, and that he should give it in at the celestial gate. So they went their way. Then Christian gave 3 leaps for joy, and went on singing. "Thus far did I come laden with my sin, nor could aught ease the grief I was in. Till I came hither, what a place is this! Must here be the beginning of my bliss? Must here be the burden fall from off my back? Must here the strings that bound it to me crack? Blessed cross, blessed sepulchre, blessed rather be the man that there was put to shame for me." I saw then in my dream that he went on thus, even until he came at the bottom, where he saw, a little out of the way, 3 men fast asleep, with fetters upon their heels. The name of the one was Simple, another Sloth, and the third Presumption. Christian then, seeing them lie in this case, went to them, if peradventure he might awake them, and cried, "You are like them that sleep on the top of a mast, for the Dead Sea is under you, a gulf that hath no bottom. Awake therefore, and come away. Be willing also, and I will help you off with your irons." He also told them, "If he that goeth about like a roaring lion comes by you, you will certainly become a prey to his teeth." With that they looked upon him, and began to reply in this sort. Simple said, "I see no danger." Sloth said, "Oh, yet a little more sleep." And Presumption said, "Every vat must stand upon its own bottom." And so they laid down to sleep again, and Christian went on his way. Yet he was troubled to think that men in that danger should so little esteem the kindness of him that so freely offered to help them, both by awakening of them, counselling of them, and proffering to help them off with their irons. And as he was troubled thereabout, he espied 2 men come tumbling over the wall on the left hand of the narrow way, and they made up a pace to him. The name of the one was Formalist, and the name of the other Hypocrisy. So, as I said, they drew up unto him, who thus entered with them into discourse. Christian said, "Gentlemen, whence came you, and whither do you go?" They replied, "We were born in the land of vainglory, and are going for praise to Mount Zion." Christian said, "Why came you not in at the gate which standeth at the beginning of the way? Know ye not that it is written, that he that cometh not in by the door, but climbeth up some other way, the same is a thief and a robber?" Well, they said, that to go to the gate for entrance was by all their countrymen counted too far about, and that therefore their usual way was to make a short cut of it, and to climb over the wall, as they had done. Christian replied, "But will it not be counted a trespass against the lord of the city, whither we are bound, thus to violate his revealed will?" Formalist and Hypocrisy replied, "As for that, he need not to trouble his head about it. For what they did they had custom for, and could produce, if needs were, testimony that would witness it for more than 1,000 years. But, said Christian, will it stand a trial at law? Formalist and Hypocrisy said to him, that custom, it being of so long standing as above 1,000 years, would doubtless now be admitted as a thing legal by an impartial judge. And besides, say they, if we get into the way, what matter is it which way we get in? If we are in, we are in. Thou art but in the way, who, as we perceive, came in at the gate, and we are also in the way that come tumbling over the wall. Wherein now is thy condition better than ours? Christian said, I walk by the rule of my master. You walk by the rude working of your fancies. You are counted thieves already by the Lord of the way. Therefore I doubt you will be found true men at the end of the way. You come in by yourselves without his direction, and shall go out by yourselves without his mercy. To this they made him but little answer, only they bid him look to himself. Then I saw that they went on every man his way, without much conference one with another, save that these 2 men told Christian that as to laws and ordinances, they doubted not but they should as conscientiously do them as he. Therefore, said they, we see not wherein thou differest from us, but by the coat that is on thy back, which was given thee by some of thy neighbours, to hide the shame of thy nakedness. Christian said, by laws and ordinances you will not be saved, since you came not in by the door. And as for this coat that is on my back, it was given me by the Lord of the place whither I go, and that, as you say, to cover my nakedness with. And I take it as a token of kindness to me, for I had nothing but rags before. And besides, thus I comfort myself as I go. Surely, think I, when I come to the gate of the city, the Lord thereof will know me for good, since I have his coat on my back, a coat that he gave me freely in the day that he stripped me of my rags. I have, moreover, a mark in my forehead, of which perhaps you have taken no notice, which one of my Lord's most intimate associates fixed there in the day that my burden fell off from my shoulders. I will tell you, moreover, that I had then given me a scroll sealed to comfort me by reading as I go on the way. I was also bid to give it in at the celestial gate, in token of my certain going in after it. All which things I doubt you want, because you came not in at the gate. To these things they gave him no answer, only they looked upon each other and laughed. Then I saw that they went all on, save that Christian kept before, who had no more talk but with himself, and that sometimes sighingly, and sometimes comfortably. Also he would be often reading in that scroll that one of the shining ones gave him, by which he was refreshed. I beheld then that they all went on till they came to the foot of the hill Difficulty, at the bottom of which there was a spring. There were also in the same place 2 other ways, besides that which came straight from the gate. One turned to the left hand, and the other to the right, at the bottom of the hill. But the narrow way lay right up the hill, and the name of the going up the side of the hill is called Difficulty. Christian now went to the spring, and drank thereof to refresh himself, and then began to go up the hill, saying, The hill, though high, I covet to ascend, the difficulty will not me offend, for I perceive the way to life is here. Come, pluck up heart, let's neither faint nor fear, better though difficult, the right way to go, than wrong, though easy, where the end is woe. The other 2 also came to the foot of the hill, but when they saw that the hill was steep and high, and that there were 2 other ways to go, and supposing also that these 2 ways might meet again with that up which Christian went on the other side of the hill, therefore they were resolved to go in those ways. Now the name of one of those ways was Danger, and the name of the other Destruction. So the one took the way which is called Danger, which led him into a great wood, and the other took directly up the way to Destruction, which led him into a wide field full of dark mountains, where he stumbled and fell, and rose no more. I looked then after Christian to see him go up the hill, where I perceived he fell from running to going, and from going to clambering up upon his hands and his knees, because of the steepness of the place. Now about the midway to the top of the hill was a pleasant arbour, made by the Lord of the hill for the refreshment of weary travellers. Thither therefore Christian got, where also he sat down to rest him. Then he pulled his scroll out of his bosom, and read therein to his comfort. He also now began afresh to take a review of the coat or garment that was given to him, as he stood by the cross. Thus pleasing himself a while, he at last fell into a slumber, and thence into a fast sleep, which detained him in that place until it was almost night, and in his sleep his scroll fell out of his hand. Now as he was sleeping, there came one to him and awaked him, saying, Go to the ant, thou sluggard, consider her ways, and be wise. And with that Christian suddenly started up, and sped him on his way, and went apace till he came to the top of the hill. Now when he was got up to the top of the hill, there came 2 men running to meet him. The name of one was Timorous, and the other Mistrust, to whom Christian said, Sirs, what's the matter? You run the wrong way. Timorous answered that they were going to the city of Zion, and had got up that difficult place. But, said he, the further we go, the more danger we meet with, wherefore we turned and are going back again. Yes, said Mistrust, for just before us lie a couple of lions in the way, whether sleeping or waking we know not, and we could not think, if we came within reach, but they would presently pull us to pieces. Then said Christian, You make me afraid, but whither shall I flee to be safe?